invites them to stay. He invites them to stay. Why would you invite them to stay if it's your plan to kill her? So you can have witnesses? No. So they stay, they talk, he's shuffling Uno cards because the murderer who doesn't drink or do drugs plays Uno and then kills pregnant women on his downtime. And then they leave, and then they talk and they dance. They take selfies, and then the call comes. It's 9:29. The first call from Nigeria. And the reason I wanted to lay this out this way was because there's been so much talk about this elaborate cleanup that he must have done. And I wanted you to see that there was no time for that. Because now we're in the during phase. And so 9:29, Nigeria calls, and that call lasts 6 minutes, 9 seconds. That takes us to 9:35 and some change. And I think the interchange between that time and when he calls his father at 9:38 and 12 seconds is about 2 minutes. Now, mind you, Jade is having a medical emergency. All kind of things are going on. She's foaming at the mouth. She's shaking. She sounds like she's snoring. They tell him to get a towel, go wipe her mouth, put her on her side. He's trying to tend to her. But he's being punished for that. And if he wouldn't have tended to her, he would have been punished for that. But even still, as he is calling, or in the call at 9:29, when Nigeria says that she's saying, "You put something in my drink." What did you put in my drink? Do you remember the text message that Nigeria sent as a result of hearing "you put something in my drink"? Are you talking to me? I want everybody to think about your best friend. And your best friend calls you on the phone. I want you to envision that. And you pick up the phone and you say hello. And they tell you, on the other phone you hear, "You're stabbing me. You're shooting me. You're killing me." Are you going to say, "Are you talking to me?" You know they're not talking to you. You're going to say, "What's wrong? What's going on over there? Do I need to come get you? Do I need to call 911? That's a natural response. But instead, you send a text saying, "Are you talking to me?" Remember, nobody else heard exactly what was going on that phone call. Nobody but Nigeria. So let's look at the facts surrounding that. As much as she says that this was the worst thing she's ever heard, her friend was in so much danger, so much distress. It was horrible. It was scary. She knew, because she just left there. She knew that he was in that apartment. She was in that apartment alone with the man who was trying to kill her, according to her. But she doesn't call 911. Instead, she calls Keontae, who only met Jade twice. And apparently he gets on the phone. They're talking. At least he says he could hear her trying to talk. So if she's trying to talk, Dr. Ola Sugar told you she has to be breathing in order to do that. Remember, Keontae actually said he did hear her voice. But even with that, as dire straits as Nigeria explains that it is, he goes out with his buddies anyway. Think about that. If it was as horrible and dangerous, why would this guy put his clothes on and go on out anyway? And then remember, Nigeria, immediately after hanging up, called Jade's mom. and shares with her what she heard, what Jade said. And notwithstanding that, Jade's mom sends Blaise a text and says, oh, the baby's good, the heartbeat is okay. If it was as serious and people believed Najee or believed in the credibility of her, do you think that Jade's mother would text that man and tell him and give him an update about the baby? Are you going to text the man who's just been accused of killing your child and give them an update about the baby? Are you going to do that? There's something not right about it. But that's what happened. And so, right after that phone call, he calls his dad on the phone with him for 30 seconds, because that's what he told the police officer, that he talked to his dad, and his dad said, call, son, hang up with me and call 911. What are you doing on the phone with me? He does that, and within 16, so if that call lasted 30 seconds, that takes us to 9:38 and 42 seconds. And at 9:38 and 58 seconds, Blaise is on the phone with 911, and you heard that call. You heard the desperation in his voice. He didn't know the address to give the man. You remember that interchange. So the only way to get the address would be to run to the front to get the address. And if you remember what he says, I want you guys to pay attention to this. He said the address is 1522-1550 Lebanon Pike. Most of the time when people give an address, it's only one numeric value. It makes sense that he ran to the front of the apartment or the condominium complex, because that's the exact address he gave them. So then, after that, I went the wrong way. Then he gets off the phone with 911, and she calls back. So if it was 6 minutes and some, I'm sorry, the 911 call was almost 9 minutes. So that would take him right around to 9:47, and Najee calls back to Jade's phone. And he answers. He didn't have to answer. It was Jade's phone. He could have said, I was dealing with an emergency. But he picked up the phone and gave her an update, doing the responsible thing. Then after that, that call lasted about 2 minutes, she says. That takes us to around 9:49. EMS arrives at 9:48. And if you look at that slip from the EMS, because you'll have the right to look at the evidence, it's going to show you that EMS arrived about 9:48. And you heard him say, I can hear the sirens. I think I can hear the sirens. And then he goes out and runs to get them. Remember, on the call, the man says, put her on her side. So he did that. Then if you remember, as much as she didn't want to, she told you that Blaise ran out to meet them, at least at the door. So perhaps she rolled over while he was gone. We don't know. But nobody's calling 911 and doing all those things to help, only to put her on the side and try to kill her. So by now, EMS is there, so the time for cleanup is gone. Where was all this time for him to clean up? It's not there, because remember, those selfies was less than 60 seconds before the emergency call. The time just isn't there.